Okay, students, this is Dr. Miller, and I'm going to give you some feedback on your first assignment. I could say overall, your selection of photographs was really outstanding. This was probably the best group of photographs for this assignment that I've had in the 6 or 7 years I've been teaching this class. So well done for everybody. We were, of course, looking at the styles or genres of photography, and these are very important. There's a whole bunch of them really beyond what we're talking about, but these are kind of the basics, and we can start with portrait. And this is a really excellent example of a portrait. As we can see, the subject is very dominant, filling the frame. Typical of portraits, the background is out of focus. It's just a good, solid portrait image. This is a wholly different type of portrait. Remember, in a portrait, one of the characteristics is that the person that is the subject, the poser, is aware of the camera. And obviously, on this one on the right, it's a pretty set-up type shot. And really interesting, kind of artsy. This is also a portrait, and this, of course, is a pet. And it's legitimate to have some portraits of pets. Please don't overdo it. The framing of this is really excellent. Even though you don't see the whole head and face of the dog, this wooden board here really makes an interesting frame. This is a great portrait. In the action, documentary, lifestyle, candid, whatever you want to refer to it as, this is the capture of the moment format. And this is an excellent example. It just shows that you don't have to do anything extraordinary to have a really good photograph, but this is excellent because it captures the kind of the spirit of these two people as they're walking through the city. Again, this out of focus background is something that we will learn how to do with our various cameras, and we will have a particular assignment on portraits later. This comes into play. This is not really a portrait because I don't think these people are fully aware of the camera. It's not like they're posing, but the effect here of this out of focus area is similar to a portrait. Sports makes for really great opportunities. It's kind of tricky in a lot of ways, and a lot of it has to do with light. A lot of what you're going to do with photography has to do with light. One of the things you'll find when you're doing sports photography inside is that you tend to not have as much light as you think. A basketball arena seems bright when you're there, but when you are using a camera, you'll often find that the lights aren't nearly as bright as you anticipate. This is where a good camera, the single lens reflex type camera, can really help you because there's more tools within what those cameras can do that can help you in low light situations and to be able to freeze the action like this photo. And also this photo freezes the action very nicely. Landscapes, you would think they'd be pretty simple, and in some ways they are, but to get a really outstanding landscape like this one, you have to do a few things right. Notice that these lines going across here are very consistent, and the ocean that's out here contrasts with the flowers, and this single tree out here, which kind of will wind up on the thirds grid at the appropriate place. Really nice. Great, great photograph. Here's another landscape, and this one has a couple of elements I want to call to your attention. First, this range of tones, not the colors, but the tones of light. And the tones mean going from the lightest, which is basically this white up here in the clouds, that's as white as it gets, and going down to the darkest, which would be these shadow areas down here. This is shadowy over on this side, but you can still see detail. And that's one of the things that makes this a good photograph, is you see this range of light from this white up here to this black down here, and you see all the stuff in between. Nice contrast, brings out more of the definition of the clouds. Now another element to this is the composition, and that is this use of the space that disappears back here. This is called the vanishing point, and it's common like with a road or a railroad track. What it does is when you use it properly, it kind of creates a three-dimensional effect, which makes the picture kind of jump out. Very nice. Close-ups. Close-ups need to be close up. And this is a close-up of a rose. It's rather light in overall tone, but it's got a lot of richness of color. It's very interesting. This is a butterfly, a swallowtail butterfly of some type. And you can see the detail in here of a close-up. Close-ups are tricky because some cameras are going to do them way better than others, but most cameras will have the ability to do some form of close-up, and we'll spend some time on that later. Now this is just the artsy or creative side of photography, and this one, clearly this photograph started as a photograph, but it's been heavily manipulated using some type of software like Photoshop elements, or the one we're going to use called Pixlr. So this is an effect that's created from the photograph using the editing tool. This photograph is not heavily edited, although it's possible that these butterfly images could have been added in a post-production setting, but I suspect they're probably actually not real butterflies, but they're somehow attached to the subject. But this is just a really interesting photograph, and the way the hair comes down here sort of frames her eyes, actually even crosses over this eye, but it's a very interesting photograph. This would also count as a portrait. And here's this one. Now I'm not really sure if this photographer took this. Obviously they used a very long telephoto lens to get this much of the moon, and I'm not sure if these are naturally occurring or if it was added during a post-production editing, but overall it's a really interesting effect. So those are the types of photographs that we covered, the genres. Let me show you one quick thing. When you submit your photographs, you will be putting them into PowerPoint, or you can use Google Slides, or you can use Keynote if you use a Mac. But here's what you'll need to do. You will use an identity up here of the particular part of the exercise that you're representing with the photograph. I actually prefer to have one photograph per slide like this, but if they're verticals, it's okay to put them side by side like this. What you need to do though is to put your name at the top of them. It just helps me out. And on your title slide, you say the photo assignment and then put your name here. That would be very helpful. Let me show you how to do this. Now, one of the ways you can do it is to duplicate a slide, and if you right click on a slide and just go down to duplicate, see you've got a second one. Now we can go to this second one and we can just get rid of that photograph and put another one in here. How do you put a photograph in here? Well, you can use the insert command, which up here you go to picture, and now we're going to go to a particular image and we select it and put it in here. Now this is a little too large for the area, so I'm going to drag it down by the corner. I'm holding the mouse, and on a PC it's going to be on the left button of the mouse. You hold down and then drag it. So that will allow you to make it a size. Sometimes you'll get one that's too big, sometimes you'll have one a little small, but I like to have as much of the image as possible. So that's how you insert a photograph. You can also copy a photograph from a folder and just paste it in there. At any rate, the thing, once you've got your show the way you want it, and you've got all the slides representing the assignment, what you're going to do is you're going to save it as a PDF file. A PDF file, you may know, is a transferable document file. So when we go to save and we go to this save as type, we can select PDF, and I've already saved this once, so in this case I'll just call it 2 just to make something different. This is what you're going to do. You're going to save it as a PDF. Okay, well, that's the feedback. Again, you all did really, really well on this assignment. I was very impressed with the selection of photographs that you had submitted for this. Now, on the assignment you're working on now, you're going to get out and you're going to do a number of these similar photographs. There's a couple of the assignment that are a little different. Be sure to get out and do photographs of different things. Please don't just take photographs of your child, your pet, your tree in your backyard, and submit them over and over again. Now, when we get into actually grading your assignments, and if you send me 2 portraits of cats and you use the same cats to represent a action photograph, that's not going to help you. So you need to get out, take your time, go to different places, take your camera with you. If you have any questions, let me know.